Good evening. The December 18th, 2018, I'm a year ahead, meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order, and we are pleased to have Scott Spencer, our fire chief, here with us this evening to lead us in our invocation. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we've got so many things to be thankful for, both personal and professionally, Lord. We just thank you for this county, what it means to each of us. We thank you for our families, Lord, for the sacrifices that they put up with so that we can serve our citizens. Lord, we thank you for our commissioners as they dedicate their time and energies to governing our county. Lord, we ask a special blessing on our department heads, all county employees here, Lord, as they do the business of the county. Just be with them, Lord. Most of all, Lord, we want to thank you for this season that we're celebrating. We thank you for sending your son, Jesus, just for us. Now, as we go into this meeting, Lord, we ask you to give our commissioners wisdom, guidance, and that they would do things that would be pleasing in your sight. And all these things we ask in your son's most holy and precious name. And all God's people said, amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Fire Chief Spencer, for being here with us this evening and leading us in our invocation. Good evening once again, and we're delighted that you have joined us, and we appreciate your participation in local government. Public comment, we have 3 individuals, or should I say citizens, who have signed up tonight. And before I recognize you and ask you to come forth, I would just like to let you know that the Board of Commissioners thank you for participating and advocating in county government. Your comments must be germane to the agenda. So when you come forth, please state your name and address for the record. However, I just want you to be mindful of your our 3-minute rule, or mine. So if you please do not exceed those 3 minutes, and if you do, I'll just kindly ask you to wrap your sentence up. I will keep it organized for you, so you could just make sure that you're aware of your 3 minutes. We have a buzzer, and I will ask the clerk to make sure she set the timer for the 3 minutes. The 3-minute limit. So I will start with Mr. James Sumpners. You could come forth, but I believe your subject matter is not germane to the agenda. You have WSA email.
Yeah, I was unaware that I had to speak only on the agenda, that this was a public comment.
Yeah, particularly for our Board of Commission meetings. Now, at the work session, it does not have to be germane to the agenda.
Well, the work session happens during the work day.
Yes, sir.
So how am I supposed to come to the work session?
Well, certainly I'll be willing to meet with you, and we can do that if you had something, and I can certainly meet with you after this meeting, and if you want to express your concerns about your email with WSA, I can do that.
Yeah, because it's a pretty big privacy issue.
Yes,
in
sir.
regard to the way they're collecting information.
Okay, well, can we chat after? Yes, sir, and I serve on that board as well, so I'll chat with you. Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Larry Pierce. Mr. Pierce, please come forth and please restate your address, and your subject matter is related to the budget tonight, I believe.
Give me a moment, I have a little surprise.
I see.
One of these guys is bashful. So
Yes, sir.
I just thought I'd be in the festive of activities.
Okay.
Now, Larry Pierce, 4120 Van Sant Road, Douglasville, Georgia. You see, I have no papers. So, past 2 years I've been coming up here. I want all of y'all to know that I really enjoyed it, and it's been a learning experience. And it takes a lot of time. And you have to be careful you don't get none of you mad. I know I've stepped on some toes, and I'll probably keep on doing that.
Okay.
And but the year is gone, and we're coming up on a new one. And I would like to tell you that this shirt is about 15 years old, and these pins are about 15 years old. and it only gets laundried about once every 5 years. And when I bought it, it was loose,
Yes, sir.
real big. But the one pin that means a lot to me is right here.
Okay.
It says, "Remember Pearl Harbor." And my aunt gave it to me probably 30, 40 years ago. But anyway, so I do want to wish all of you Merry Christmas. And in Hawaii, I know some of you have been there, but you may not realize that it's the smallest alphabet language in the world. It has 12 letters. And the reason it has 12 letters is because when the missionaries went to Hawaii, they tried to decipher what they were saying. And everything they said sounded alike, as I'm going to show you. Mele Kaliki Maka is Merry Christmas, and Maka Hiki Ho is Happy New Year. And all the vowels and 5 or 6 consonants is it. There's 12 letters in the Hawaiian alphabet.
Mr. Pierce,
And that's about it.
that's it? Okay,
And,
it needs to be germane to the agenda.
I have no complaints,
Okay,
and I don't have anything else to say. So I can't wear this too many places without looking foolish. And you know I'm very cautious about that.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I was under the impression, based on your sign-up, it was the budget, but happy holidays to you as well. And we thank you so much for your participation in county government. Next, we have Mr. John Tomaski. Mr. Tomaski, now your subject matter is the budget aspect, so I ask that you please speak regarding that subject matter. And give us your address, state your name and address,
Yeah, I'll break with
please.
tradition and stay on point. November 15th.
I need your address for the record.
Oh, yes, John
Yes, sir.
Tomasky, 6,000 Stewart Parkway, Douglasville.
Thank you.
November 15th retreat, one senior staff member referred to the remuneration of the key employee of the Development Authority. As the authorities are creatures of the state government, the Board of Commissioners can't advise them how to run their organization, but can't decline to pay for their independence. And the term development is something which, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. Development is change, but it's development for whom and at whose cost. And that is nothing which has ever been studied in any objective or empirical way on any project that has gotten a tax abatement. And there's also has been a question that has come up by another public speaker who is well informed, has not been around lately, but his research indicates that the Development Authority would receive money on the use of county properties by third parties. And if the Development Authority is subject to the same law as other county departments, that money must be remitted to the county. If, because they are state creatures, they are not required to remit to the county, well, they must be required to remit somewhere, because it is county property that are the source of the income they get from third parties. And again, this commission cannot tell them how to run their organization, but can decline to make any budgetary payments to the authority. And it's good news in a sense that you're bringing about a committee, but the last I saw yesterday, it was still being referred to as the Committee on Tax Abatement Compliance. And the last time we spoke on this subject, you and I, Madam Chairman, you had mentioned it was going beyond that into economic feasibility and economic impacts. And in thanking you, I referred to that, but the term compliance still says fig leaf to me. Is my time up? Is that what that sound is? Okay,
is.
thank you, and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tomasky, Professor Tomasky. We appreciate your participation in county government, and this matter would be taken under advisement. Next, Board of Commissioners, we have the approval of the minutes. You have the minutes of the commission meeting of December 4th, 2018, and the work session minutes of December 3rd, 2018, and the executive session minutes of December 3rd, 2018. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be made?
No, Madam Chair.
Being none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Next on our agenda, we have a public hearing, and the public hearing, which is tab number 4, is to amend the Douglas County Code of Ordinances, Section 3-70 pursuant to the recent passing of the Sunday brunch bill by voters regarding time requirements for Sunday alcohol sales. I would like Manager Ron Roberts to come forth and just tell us a little bit about this public hearing.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, the recent vote stated that the alcohol sales on Sunday would begin at 11 a.m. and instead of the 12:30. And so we have to amend our county ordinance, Section 370, to reflect that. And that's what this is.
Okay. Thank you so much. At this time, I will open this public hearing. Just wanted to know if there's anyone here to speak about or for this public hearing. Please state your name for the record and welcome Councilman
For
Siegel.
the record, my name is Richard Siegel, and I appear before you as a private citizen,
Yes.
not representing any other group that I may be connected with. Just wanted to voice my support for the proposed changes in this ordinance, and also to thank Commissioner Mulcair for his service to our community, and to wish each of you a happy and prosperous 2019.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak again against? Are you speaking against or for?
Madam Chair, during the public comment, they can come either way.
Okay, you can come forward. Thank you.
Thank you again. First, to put this in context, Robert's rules and other similar rules, such as Mason's, which legislatures often use, distinguish an enumerated body, such as this board, has 5 members, the Georgia Senate, the Georgia House, the Houses of Congress, and also the body of registered voters is an enumerated body. The process of registration is a process of enumeration. It is clearly an enumerated body with known and limited membership at any given point in time. Decisions or actions by a majority of a quorum of an enumerated body are required for a decision or an action. However, for bodies which don't have a definitive membership, bodies which are sort of a you all come, those are referred to as a General Assembly. Now that might confuse you a bit because the combination of the Georgia House and Senate are called the General Assembly, but of course the sum of 2 enumerated bodies is simply a larger enumerated body. Now a General Assembly...
Mr. Tomasky,
Yeah.
Don't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted you to stay focused. Are you for or against? Would you like to speak about this particular ordinance that's coming forth?
What I'm speaking about
Okay.
is referring to the process of referenda.
Okay.
There are states which, and I've been in such jurisdictions, there are states which require referenda to be passed by a majority of registered voters. They treat the body of registered voters as an enumerated body, as it should be. There are other states, such as Georgia, which treat registered voters, an enumerated body, as a general assembly. And in those instances, referendums are passed only by a majority of those who show up and vote. So you have a situation where in some states, which properly treat the body of registered voters as an enumerated body, referenda passed only if they get a majority of registered voters in support. Typically in Georgia and like states, you have referenda passed by a minority of registered voters, yet a majority of those who show up. And this is essentially a way of loading the dice, because when you make any change, and all of these referenda are proposed by a certain interest group. So that interest group has got a tangible interest in the outcome. And they come out and they have their people come out. The general population, it's like whatever. And when I lived in jurisdictions that treated voters as an enumerated body, the way we would defeat bad things is simply we didn't go out and vote.
Right.
And the thing would fail. So generally, when you have referenda passed in that way, they do not represent the will of the people. They represent the will of certain special interests. Now, it wasn't that long ago in Atlanta, Rich's department store was closed on Sunday. We have had a gradual sacrificing of traditional moral positions in the name of making a buck. And let me just finish with this last sentence, which illustrates it.
Okay.
We have a fellow traveling businessman. He's in the hotel lounge. Woman sitting next to him. He asks, "Would you go upstairs with me for $5,000?" She says, "Sure." Then he says, "Well, how about $5?" She says, "Well, what kind of woman do you think I am?" He says, "Lady, we just established that. No, we're just haggling price." So what kind of jurisdiction does Metro Atlanta and especially Douglasville want to be? That's what it's about.
Thank you so much.
Neither for nor against, but just stating what is the deal on the table.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak tonight? Well, at this time, I will close the public hearing. At this time, Board of Commissioners, you have heard the public hearing. If you could, Manager Ron Roberts, come forth, just in case my Board of Commissioners have some questions for you. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, before I call for a motion, do you have any questions for our manager, Ron Roberts, regarding this Douglas County Code of Ordinance, Section 3-770? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Board of Commissioners? Thank you. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve Douglas County Code of Ordinance, Section 370, pursuant to the recent passing of the Sunday brunch bill by the voters?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. So we'll move on to the next item, which is, we have a resolution. Resolution, which is tab number 5, resolution to adopt the 2019 budget. And our Director, Jennifer Hallman, is here today. Director Hallman, thank you so much. You may
Good evening.
take the lead.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, I just did a short presentation. I think they're trying to get it connected right now.
There we go.
Wrong drive.
There you go.
Well done.
We're just going to go over, as you know, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we had a budget hearing, and now we're presenting the proposed budget for adoption tonight. The general fund budget changes since the budget hearing 2 weeks ago. This is right here is a list of the changes that have occurred or is being proposed to the 2019 budget. The tax commissioners asked for discretionary funds, as clarified by Madam Chair, as well as Michelle Green met with the tax commissioner to go over what that discretionary funding would pay for. It was for some required training and some software, some additional discretionary of $20,000, also to move 3 part-time employees to full-time. Also, because we're moving those 3 part-time employees to full-time, we can reduce his part-time budget by leaving still $39,000 in there, but we were able to reduce it by $51,000 because of that change. Cleaning services for the government annex had to be included when the budget was being worked on during the preliminary stages. We were still working out the numbers and determining what department it needed to be in. So this was more of an administrative addition to the budget, as well as a cleaning contingency for the annex, the property management, and fleet. That contingency is some carpet cleaning and floor buffing for $14,000. Good timing, we actually had in the uninked fund, we received a large building permit that was not included in year-end estimates because it was, we were not aware. It was additional $370,000, so we were able to add in the $200,000 for the continued expansion for felony drug court, as well as the additional $150,000 for the courthouse site security and secured parking area. So the total additions totaled $168,847. The general fund, again, this just shows you each revenue source that we have totaled at the budget hearing as well as post-hearing. You can see that now the revenues are $89,615,825, with expenditures being the same. With this proposed budget, our unassigned fund balance is $9,016,783, which is 10.06% of expenditures, which is within our policy. And then within the other funds that we have to budget for, we're required by law to budget for. No other changes occurred except for the $370,000 that we had previously discussed in the unincorporated fund. Therefore, our total special revenue funds totals $27,484,897. Our capital project fund and our debt service fund, because the money goes into the capital project fund, the SPLOST does, and it's a transfer out to the debt service fund to pay for the bonds that we issued of $17,294,250. Enterprise fund, which is the landfill or solid waste, is $2,663,030. And our internal service funds, which of course is our self-insurance health care and our workers' comp, is $16,347,410. A total of all funds is $170,699,662, and that is what's being brought before you today to adopt for the 2019 budget. And just like I mentioned at the public hearing, I just wanted to reiterate, at Madam Chair's request, we started this year, and we would like to continue that. Anything that did not get funded during this adoption, then we will come back and revisit at the end of March, early April, to see how we end the year in 2018 and if we can fund those additional items. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Director Hallman. Board of Commissioners, you have heard Director Hallman's presentation. Any questions or comments or any contribution to the discussion? Commissioner Guider?
Yes, Jennifer, under the tax commissioner, I have the request for BIRs and new positions and stuff. it doesn't mention these employees. Was that on another report that I don't have?
I believe that was a separate discussion after the budget hearing, Madam Chair, and Michelle met with Tax Commissioner Baker in order to get a better understanding of what his needs were in his budget. I believe he asked for just a lump sum, but they were able to work out and determine what he needed it for, and that's why it's listed in more detail in this presentation.
I've never heard of discretionary funds in anybody's department. Is this new?
Within a separate fund, there's it being labeled that, probably yes, but to say that departments in the past haven't had funds within their budget that they could use at their discretion if they didn't need it for a particular purpose, then yes.
Under his discretionary funds, he asked for required training and software, $75,000. Now, I know the software was mentioned at another meeting, and that was a little bookkeeping thing, which is an over-the-counter package of software. It's not built from the ground up. And the training would never get to $75,000. What is the reason for this? I don't understand this. $75,000 for training, and then for a little software package, because most of the things in there is on QuickBooks, because I set it up, QuickBooks Pro. So a package of software over the counter is very minimal cost. And then another discretionary fund, in addition to the $180,000, he wanted $20,000 more. And I've just never seen this, and I know the other commissioners hadn't either, that we have discretion. Well, first of all, it's coming after the budget process. Now, I know we can have amendments and things like that, but I've never heard, are we saying we're setting up a discretionary fund for all the elected officials now?
In 2019 budget, right now, it's just in the tax commissioner's budget, based upon his request.
Well, I have no qualms with the part-time employees to full-time. Although I do have a problem, it says cleaning services government annex. We just issued a purchase order for cleaning. Now, when I called you today, you explained that originally it was under the appraisal department, and this is being put under his. Mm-hmm. So you reduced their budget by $25,000 and put it in his budget?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle. I think what happened was when we were going to the budget retreat, there was still some discussion about the cleaning services. So therefore, we made a notation within the tax commissioner's budget that we needed to make sure we go back and add cleaning services once we knew that amount. So we made that earmark, just put a line in there as a transaction, and then once we came back from the budget retreat and the budget hearing, I think you met with Madam Chair and the tax commissioner and determined that we needed to put that in there, that we cut his budget too much that did not include the training because the cleaning, because we were not aware of what the cost would be at the time that we were working in his budget.
Jennifer, plus last year's budget for appraisal only included a half a year because we were only expecting Bleakley to be finished, or the government annex to be finished by June or July. So we only had a half a year's worth, so it wasn't a full year.
Correct.
But we just issued a purchase order or a contract on the cleaning of the annex, so y'all would know for the year what that contract would be. So why didn't you just plug that in there? I don't understand this.
Yeah, if you don't mind coming to explain.
Anytime we have a new facility, there are a lot of things that come on board that we're not familiar with, such as cleaning, utilities, and things of that nature. And we just, at the time the budget had been presented to the Board of Commissioners, it did not include any dollars for cleaning of that building, regardless of the department. It wasn't an appraisal. If it were, we would have just simply had to have moved it, but it wasn't in there at all.
Okay, I'm not making myself clear. I'm saying we just issued a contract for the cleaning of the annex. Y'all know what it's $21,000. So why was it that just plugged in there for the cleaning of the annex?
That's
That-
what that amount, that's what that is.
We have.
This is the point in the stage that it was plugged in.
But, I mean, y'all knew that before, didn't you know that before we even had our retreat? Okay.
Director Peacock, you want to chime in? You
Yes,
could
ma'am.
come in, yes.
Thank you. Excuse me. We did not know until early in December that we were going to roll over the existing contract that we signed last year.
So we didn't, when we signed the contract, it was just for 1
It
or 2
was
months?
just through December. So what we've done is we've agreed to roll over the existing contract for 2019.
Well, it wasn't just for the contract. I've got a copy of it. It was for a year.
I think it only said through December of 2018.
So it's $21,000 per month, or
No, it's $22,100 per month.
per month?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And on the cleaning contingency, the carpet cleaning and floor buffering, I've got a copy of the scope of the work that was submitted when we got that contract for that, and it included buffing twice a year and spot cleaning and all this stuff. So why has he added that 14,000 additional funds? Is he adjusting the contract that was issued?
There was discussion about the scope of work and whether the vendor believed that the scope of work for janitorial services would include such large items such as buffing the floor and doing carpet cleaning.
It was in the scope of the work.
I
the
understand.
original.
He took exception to it, and it's been delegated to the tax commissioner to determine what services the vendor is expected to provide.
Did the tax commissioner do the contract with this, or did we?
He's been involved, yes.
He went out and got bids, I guess, is what you're saying.
No, I got the bids and submitted them to the tax commissioner.
Okay. Well, it just, I don't understand why something of this magnitude, we're talking about $200,000, why something of this magnitude is adjusted after the fact. No other department does this. And why we keep allowing things like this to happen, I don't understand. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have,
Yes,
yes, you
okay.
said Vice Chairman.
I'm just going to roll. I appreciate the comments that were going forth as it relates to the authority of constitutional officers without splitting hairs. The sheriff, just like with that jail, was in times past was allowed to have full discretion on who's going to run it, who's going to get in it, how it's going to be cleaned, etc. So that's just sort of backdrop that I'm thinking, well, the tax commissioner's over there. He's facilitating the process. He wants how he wants his floor to be cleaned and shampooed, and he's got citizens that come in there. So, I mean, that's just to the side. So let me get on into what I really want to talk about. Director Hallman, on the budget, I've got a couple of items, and we're just going to confirm it. I think I can roll through this pretty quickly. Very quickly, felony Superior Court, is the $200,000 for the mental health for housing and services in?
It is. It is actually in health and welfare.
All right, so it's in health and welfare, so it's in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, this is, I mean, to the point about what the process is, the Board of Commissioners are not puppet heads, right? The budget is not, this is for the citizens, not you. The administration presents a budget no more than a governor or a president. And we as district commissioners representing the people at a lower level come and confirm it. If you've ever gone, this pen represents you've been through training. And when they talk about that, one of the primary responsibilities of the commissioner is to what? Set the budget, right? So our job is just not to sit there and say yes, it's to shape it, it's to have influence over it. But 95% of it is already going to be dictated, right? 60% is salary, 35% is roughly what? Operating costs, everything all in. We're really talking about a nickel to really operate with year over year. And again, we probably shape about a penny worth, a percentage. It's not a lot, right? But there is amendments. We don't, if we as Board of Commissioners, as district commissioners, see something that, that's too much of this, or that's too little of that, we have input. We make our voices known. Maybe sometimes those individuals, those department heads, those agency heads can weigh in and do what they do to advocate for their own interests, or we as district commissioners can come alongside and advocate for them as well. So I just wanted to clarify that, what our power is and what we do at this moment, which is one of the primary roles. All right, let me keep going. So that's in. Really quickly, related to that, the public defender. I know in times past we've given resources to the DA and the solicitor to deal with mental health and accountability courts, but for the public defender, it's not in this budget, but I'd like for it to be noted, we're going to revisit this next year.
Yes, sir. You're correct. It's not in the budget that we're proposing tonight, but it is on the revisit list.
Okay, very good. I'm keep rolling through my list. The cars that was on my list, we're going to let that go. I think you guys are going to address that, or somebody else will talk about that as it relates to the sheriff. The Scorpion unit, I think that's being worked out with the sheriff as well, so I'm just going to let that go, meaning no action. I'm not going to take it here. There was a couple of miscellaneous items, senior voucher program. I appreciate Commissioner Mulcair. We're okay with that, in essence, not to use the Capital Transportation Fund. But I think it was the will of the commissioners fully to do something to knock down the waiting list on the seniors. But how we go about funding that, I think Gary Watson, director, said that we would have to, there's no grant money associated with that, and we would have to put up full cash. No action taken, duly noted. Commissioner Mulcair, I commit to making sure we continue to work on that. So we'll make a way for that. Just make a note of that, please. Sure. I'll keep moving. What else is on my list? Let's see. Anything else I really want to emphasize here? I think everything else is already in my tabs for the most part. And so I'm just going to let that stay as is, and I'm going to yield the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. Any other comment? Commissioner Mitchell.
I promise you I won't be, I'll be brief, and I won't go through all of the entire list, but Vice Chair hit quite a few of them. To the 150, the site, the security piece, that 150, and Mark, you might want to chime in on this one as well with me, that would be inclusive to what we already have, this, because we needed that additional money to kind of make sure we get the security at the courthouse, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So that would make us whole when it comes to that number, of which I thought it was 650, but I think the number adds up to be 650 with the 150 plus what we already, okay.
That's correct.
Okay, so the numbers are all there, and that's accounted for.
Yes, sir.
In this budget, okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. That was additional money that was needed to get what we already have, which was 5 or 550 or somewhere in that ballpark.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fund balance, good job. I think we're right on the edge, which I think is good. To the tax commissioner piece, thank you, and thank you to this board, and thank you to Madam Chair for all the hard due diligence that went into trying to get this part of it right. I know you've got several calls from me, and I don't know from the other commissioners as to how to make sure we make this work and make this whole, and what his commitment is, and what he's trying to do, and where he's trying to go with that office. But again, good job, and I know it was a lot of confusion, but good job on getting that done. And last but not least, the senior voucher. Nothing more than say that I'm glad it's there, and I'm glad we're accounting for it and make sure we get that done. Outside of that, I'll leave it at such. Thank you very much, and I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. Okay, all right, well.
Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, just real quick, and I think, again, great budget, and I just want to, for the record, for the next 2 years, it's probably going to be more of the same, right? It's still relatively tight, right? It's healthy, moving slow like a turtle for the most part. But, I appreciate Madam Chair's process as a good matriarch, which is like, no, let's push some of this out into the first year. Let's really check our checking account, make sure we really got the money for it. Let's not leverage ourselves. So I want to acknowledge the process that she put in place 2 years in a row, and it really works. But with that, you get to see discipline. And with our long-term capital plan, which is really my point, over the next 2 years, guys, we're not quite there. We're decent. We're good. Thank goodness for the public for giving us a SPLOST. We'd be in a totally different place, right? We're hopeful about some of our commercial that's going to be coming online, but it's still steady. So there's a disciplineness that I appreciate this board is taking on to say, steady, let's make sure we got the money for checking, to make sure we've got a great plan long-term. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, Madam Chair, that where we're going, the citizens should have confidence that at least around this, we've got financial stability. That's all I want to share. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner?
Yes, I just want to
Guider.
reiterate a couple of, or recap some accounts. The Capital Transportation Fund, according to Director Valentine, we've got 2 projects that's going to pretty well deplete that account, right?
Either that, or I believe the transportation.
The
The unassigned, that is an option. I believe the Transportation Committee is going to talk about maybe having those funds come out of the SPLOST. I don't believe they've met on that yet.
The 2 projects that's going on now?
The difference that's needed, I think they're going to be discussing whether SPLOST, or if they're going to make a recommendation, whether SPLOST is going to be used. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And the contingency, not the fund balance, I'm sorry, it's at 10.06, and our ordinance says 10.
Our policy, it
Our
says minimum
policy
of 10. Yes,
says
ma'am.
10. So that's getting very close to going below our own policy. Last year, there was $3 million that was going to be revisited. How much of that was funded?
I believe it was around 600,000 to 700,000.
600,000, okay. And this year, there's $4 million, and we're looking at revisiting that after we close the books. So if it's the same percentage, it's about, what, 20%, 23, 24%. It's hard for a department head to plan their operation when they don't know what's going to be funded. So I'm not crazy about this procedure that we do with the revisit. Now, before, we used to put it in the fund balance, right? And build up the fund balance. Any rollover, any savings from.
And that's still an option that Madam Chair has spoken about in the Finance Committee, was even if we end the year better than what we project for our revenues and or our expenditures.
It will go into the fund
that
balance.
is, well, it's an option we can look into and see if that's something that we want to bring before the board as a Finance Committee.
And last year, I think we had $1 million in the contingency fund, and we have half that now. Right?
We actually, I think, only had $500,000, and then we rolled over the amount that we didn't use from the prior year, which was another $500,000. But a
Right.
lot of that was attributed to the annex and the courthouse
Are we going to have
renovation.
any to roll over into 2019?
No, ma'am.
So we're starting with half
$500,000.
that amount. So what I'm trying to point out, it's not as healthy as we try to declare it to be healthy. I know the sales tax is up a little bit, and property tax just a teeny bit. And those are the 2 main revenues right there. And we've got to curb our spending. We're spending money that we anticipate getting with the rollover or the savings from 2018, but we don't know exactly how that's going to end up. Now, you estimated it this year at 2% of the original expenditures.
Correct, 2% under budget, and we usually range anywhere from 2 to 4%.
Okay, now, you mentioned a not business license, but a permit.
Permit?
And it was
Yes, ma'am.
$370,000. I
Yes,
think I
ma'am.
know which which one that, I don't guess I'm at liberty to say that. But I'm just saying, we've had a couple of the commissioners mention, are we headed toward a tax increase? At the rate we're going, we are. But I'm not going to vote for it. But we've got to curb our spending. You can't spend more than what you've got coming in. And I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider, and I'll close it up, close the show. First of all, I'm with you, Commissioner Guider. I don't believe in tax increases either. I proved 2 years in a row that we will be tax increase free, and I will continue that legacy. And then move to the next thing. If you have the number, we've funded the BRRs. We have funded some in advance, like we did last year. So what is that total amount? Because we already, I know we came back and picked up some, but we probably have already approved at least $2 million worth of BRRs. What is it?
3.9.
We've already approved $3.9 million worth of BR budget improvement requests in this budget. So it's already baked in, ready to go. And what I want to do as the chairman of this board, I want to come back and look at those others that I couldn't pick up and see what we can do to pick up at the end once we close the book. So I'm very impressed with our procedure, and we'll continue to move in that direction moving forward because it works. Also, we are exceeding targets in many areas, such as loss. We were projecting a loss this year. We thought we were going to come below our threshold, but we exceeded our threshold. So we will continue to keep things tight. I realize it's tight. We are a healthy turtle. We are making progress, and we got some great things on the horizon. And I look forward to great things happening in Douglas County. So with that being said, Board of Commissioners, I'm ready to call for a vote. Board of Commissioners, you have a resolution to adopt the 2019 budget. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. Okay, thank you. We have a vote has come in 4-1. So the motion carries, and thank you. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to call a motion so I can remove tab number 8. Would like to remove tab number 8. Okay, I'll do 6, and then when I get to 8, I'll call. Okay, because I saw your note. Tab number 6. Let's go to tab number 6, which is under business items. Authorization for chairman to execute a 2019 employment agreement for contract employees. Board of Commissioners, I have brought this authorization for chairman to execute a 2019 employment agreement for contracts. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Guider.
And this is nothing new with me. These are not merit employees, these are contract employees. I'm okay with them getting a cost of living, but not a merit increase because they're not merit employees. And I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe our legal counsel, yesterday you made it clear to us that these employees are eligible for merit. I just want to clarify for the record.
I think that's a political decision by this body, whether it wants to treat them like that. What I said yesterday's work session was contract employees, unlike the vendor contracts, are individuals who have a contract so that they can, usually it's a department head, for instance. I'll use an example that by contract, rather than being merit system, it's easier to get rid of them. They are essentially waiving the protections of the merit system, or y'all are not putting that position in a merit system, so it's subject to termination at y'all's leisure other than the contract. but the certain provisions of the merit system do apply, including, as we discussed yesterday, ratings and performance evaluations, et cetera, complying with the code of ethics and so forth. So I just was trying to distinguish yesterday the difference between a vendor, which is going to be in item 32, those are vendors, versus employees who have positions that this board over historic terms have decided those would be contracted. Y'all still have to make the decision whether you want to give them increases or not. You don't have to. I just was trying to distinguish between the two, between a vendor versus a person who has to comply with your codes and ordinances, who has to abide by certain provisions in the merit system, but are not technical merit system by virtue of the contract.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we have a motion and a second. So please prepare to cast your votes, Board of Commissioners. Okay, we have, the vote has come in. We have a 4-1. The motion carries. So the vote passes. Thank you. We'll move on to the next tab, which is under new business, tab number 7, authorization to enter into a final settlement agreement with stipulations for a consent order and final judgment in connection with condemnation proceedings for required right-of-way and easements of parcel ID 01600250001 located at 9465 Highway 5 in connection with the State Route 5 Congestion Reduction and Traffic Flow Improvements Project P10012-618 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Thank you. That was a mouthful. And how are you doing? Thank you, Director Valentin. If you could expound on this further for me.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. Good evening, and Board of Commissioners. This item is, we have 2 parcels that we needed to acquire in connection with the widening and roadway intersection improvements at Highway 5 and Boulevard, and also extended towards I-20. And this project is now ready to move forward. This item is the final agreement necessary to enter into the court system a final judgment on the condemnation. So this will settle the last remaining item on right-of-way acquisition for that project.
Okay, any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Any questions or comments?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Guider has one. Yes, Commissioner Guider.
I understand it's a condemnation, but do you have any timetable when this work's going to be done? This is to add the 2 turning lanes.
Correct.
Going southbound on
Correct.
Highway 5 to turn on to Douglas Boulevard.
The expectation is that the project could start within the next 6 weeks.
Actually,
Actual construction, the project has been bid and is awaiting award of the contract. So initially, it will be preliminary work, perhaps a relocation of utilities and that sort of thing. The actual paving work will not start in full, in earnest, until the spring when the weather breaks, but there could be work starting within the next 6 weeks.
okay, because this Saturday, traffic was backed up every which way. It's awful. Going northbound, it was backed up to Stewart Parkway again, 2 lanes, solid. So anyway, I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Any other comments before I call for a motion? Board of Commissioners, you have heard authorization, you have heard the authorization to enter into a final settlement agreement with the stipulations for consent order and final judgment for the condemnation proceedings of parcel ID 01600250001. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Next, we have tab number 8.
Madam Chair, I'm going to make a motion that we not authorize to reject all bids for professional janitorial service. The Director of Purchasing has determined that all the paperwork and materials were in order. Therefore, we do not need to reject these bids. Therefore, my motion is that we not authorize. In other words, vote no on this item. I need a second.
Okay, any,
Yes, and I'll second that with a couple of questions when you get to the comment section.
okay. We have a motion to authorize, not to authorize, to reject all of the bids for the professional janitorial services for the Douglas County Courthouse. And do we have a motion? And I believe you have a motion, so do we have a second?
Yep. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay?
Just one for our attorney down on the other end. So with this, I just want for clarity that in doing this, we're trying to say here is that we're not going to reject the bids. We just want to go back and have a chance to look at those bids and sit down with them and have some kind of conversation. But I know last we spoke about this, I just want to make sure, is this the right way to go versus what we're doing now versus what we're trying to accomplish?
If you reject the agenda item as written, it would allow you to make another motion to do something else, and it would be up to y'all. You could move to approve the award of the bid. You could move to table the item. You could move to pull it, whatever. But as I understand Mr. Mulcair's motion, and the second is the agenda item as written, he is moving to reject the agenda item as written.
No.
May I, more
Yes.
specifically,
Right.
I am recommending a no vote.
Right.
So we are voting on the item.
The item reads authorization to reject all bids for professional janitor services of Douglas County Courthouse.
And the
And you're
vote?
recommending a no
No
vote.
vote.
Not to reject them.
I understood the motion to be not to reject
these guys.
the bid.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But are we able to still accomplish the goal of having these guys come in? Because I know yesterday you spoke about and doing this, we could create more issues for ourselves. I just want to make sure that we're not, by doing this, taking this route.
Yeah, I think you can reject the agenda item, and then you can make another motion to do something. It depends on what you do next, I guess, is the question. I'm not sure I understand what y'all are doing. I apologize.
Okay. Commissioner Mulcair, do you want to make sure we clear? Because
I guess it would be more, I did make a motion to not authorize, but the agenda item is to authorize. So it seemed to me we go forward with reading the authorization to reject all bids for professional janitorial services Douglas County Courthouse, and then just vote.
To reject all bids.
To vote no. We're not authorizing.
Not authorizing to,
Are y'all
I'm confused.
This shouldn't be this complicated.
Well, I think the confusion is.
The agenda item doesn't mean anything to your motion. The motion could be anything in the world. The agenda item is a topical thing, so I think we're sort of getting into the underlying where we're trying to go with this.
Exactly.
If Mr. Mulcair's motion is, I do not want to reject the bids, I want the bids to go forward and have a presentational report, that's how I understood the motion not to reject the bids. But it still would be dependent upon another motion to do something, to table, to move forward, to do something else. And so I can't predict where that's going is what I'm trying to say.
Madam Chair, may I?
Okay, can I still have
I'm
the
going to
floor?
withdraw.
We'll, because I think it'll be too confusing in the end, so I'm going to withdraw my second.
I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you. We'll start over.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair.
We're not.
I'm waiting.
discussion, so.
Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that we vote, I mean, just as a comment, vote no, or amend your comment to vote no, and simply say what we're going to do. We're going to either table it to the next meeting until we've had a chance to hear the person. Just be specific. Just say what you want. Vote no, table to the next meeting, in which, by that time, we'll have the chance to look at the top 4 presentations. That's it.
Okay.
But that's my thoughts.
But I think that
Commissioner Mitchell?
the bigger concern is, how do we get a chance to rebid or talk to everybody about what this might look like in the future? So based on what I'm reading here, we need to reject all the bids. Well, let me finish. Reject all the bids. Have a chance to at least sit down with all these individuals and/or even have a chance at rebidding it, but that'll be our call if I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's not what I want to make very clear. Forget about the agenda item. If you reject the bids, the bid process is over. It ends.
That's correct.
Then you'd have to do something else.
That's correct.
What Mr. Mulcair was attempting to do was saying the agenda items is written, I'm recommending we vote no when we move forward with something.
I got you.
The something would depend on another motion is what I was trying to signify.
And I think that's where the confusion was coming in. So I think, but we'll
If you
see.
reject all the bid's over.
Right. And
That's a new deal.
And then we'll start from square one.
But no, you don't go talk to them, you have to do another bid process.
I'm with you. That's
Yeah.
what, for clarity, yes.
I'm prepared to make a motion to table it.
Let's do that. Just table.
No,
Oh,
just a
I
point of
yield.
order.
I'm sorry, I yield.
But this is what, we shouldn't really be here. We brought this up yesterday, we were pushed into having this on this agenda.
Right.
We really wanted to table this yesterday, right? There was some type of concerns, oh my goodness, but really, we just wanted to table it and think more about it. We were unsettled about what we were looking at.
Right.
You can't force the Board of Commissioners to act, not when the process is unsettled, not when there's confusion, right? So I just, again, I'm listening to this, I'm going through this, and I'm being grieved, like I'd like for my fellow colleagues, let's just table this. Let's just take it off the table.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to table item 8, authorization to reject all bids for professional janitorial services for Douglas County Courthouse.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Have
Any
a comment?
discussion? Any comment?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
This is to table it.
Yes, to table.
It was wholly appropriate for this item to be listed to reject all bids with the information that we had in the work session. I want to clarify that. There was no lack of clarity or anything. I was concerned about the process and was the request properly put out into the community for these bids. And it determines that the paperwork was accurate and correct, and therefore there's no need to reject the bids. To Commissioner Mitchell's point, and I believe probably the whole board, there needs to be some discussion around this, and therefore that's why it's appropriate to table item 8.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to table this item, number 8.
It's going to require an
Okay,
oral vote, Madam Chairman.
A manual.
It's going to require a manual vote.
That's what I was going to do. We have a motion and a second to table tab number 8. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, the same, and the motion carries. Sorry about that, but there's a little confusion, but we have it now.
We got it.
Okay, we're going to move on to tab number 9, is authorization to terminate the purchase and sale agreement for the property located at 8254 and 8240 Highway 166. Anyone here to speak on that? Okay.
Madam Chairman, I can speak to that.
Okay.
The contract provision that was authorized allows the board to get out of that deal, but because it was publicly approved, in order to cancel it, we will need authorization to cancel that contract.
Okay. Okay, Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to authorize to terminate the purchase and sale agreement for the property located at 8254 and 8240 Highway 166?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Tab number 10, reappointment of Catherine Wynn to the Tourism and History Commission effective January 1, 2019. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes, or please cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Next, we have before us is the consent agenda. Just wanted everyone, the Board of Commissioners, please be mindful that all items are subject to final review. Commissioner Guide, I believe you have a comment.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to remove item 24 from the consent agenda. I had requested it yesterday. I don't guess the clerk heard me.
Item 24. Okay, we have a motion to remove item, what do you want it?
To new business.
New business, okay. Have a motion to remove item 24 to new business. Do we have a motion?
I have a second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all
Oppose.
opposed? Okay, so it's 4-1. Okay.
It can't be 4-1. I had a second.
Okay. All right, so we've moved this to new business, and what I'm going to do is take it and move it now to new business, so when I read the consent agenda, I'll just keep moving. All right, Board of Commissioners, we're back with new business, which is tab number 24, authorization to approve an increase in architectural and engineering fees to be paid to Carter Watkins Associate Incorporation in the amount of $90,502 due to the increase in size and scope of the new Douglas County Senior Center in Lithia Springs, as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Guider.
Yes, I spoke on this in the work session yesterday. I'm just disappointed that the Board of Commissioners is allowing Cadillac projects to go forward in the eastern side of the county, or for the SPLOSH projects, when it's going. We've already been told that repairs and renovations to all the parks on the western side will not be funded because they're running over their budgets and they're increasing the scope of the projects. The youth center is going to have 2 basketball courts. It's going to be over budget, like $1 million. It's going to be at a price tag of $7 million. The senior center, we should have learned our lesson with Boundary Waters about the expense of operation when you go to add a pool, an indoor pool, and the maintenance that goes along with it. And I just don't think that that many seniors are going to want to put their bathing suits on and get in the pool. I'm sorry. Especially during, cold times and everything. But I don't think this is a good addition to this project. It's just the architectural fees are going up $90,000. That money could be well spent on the others in other parks. I read the minutes to the Parks and Recreational meetings, and I think it was Mr. Gay that works for the Parks and Rec. He made the statement that a lot of the organizations that run the ballparks and everything are asking what about our parks? What about our parks? And now we've got to go to them more than likely and say, well, they spent it all. They spent it all on a huge youth center. I'm just saying, why can't we try to spread the money? I'm just ashamed that we've allocated all of our SPLOST monies to one side. Half the county is not being served by this SPLOST. And I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Vice Chairman Robinson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I promise I will be brief,
Okay.
but I'll be very succinct. And I, you know, again, this is going to go down in the history of the county, so it's important that you always have both sides of the conversation. And I appreciate the sentiments that there's a belief, whether it's perceived or real, that perhaps a certain segment of the county is not being served. Now, probably within 1 hour, I'll become the senior statesman on this board. And so I have a context of history for a decade. And I look at what was our action back in, when we spent $10 million out of the general fund that took it below the policy at that time, right? When that leadership group, that administration, had a different policy position to focus on. They wanted to focus on public safety, right? We built a $100 million jail that we have 4 pods and only 1 is full. We've never been up above 800 inmates. I have no problem taking care of my employees and making sure they have a safe place to work. Think about it. We spent another $20 million on consultants doing that, and we're spending probably another $15 million in this SPLOST on what? Public safety. That's fine. $150 million. But nowhere during this narrative over a decade was there a concern about the West as it relates to Parks and Rec. That leadership group could have made a difference. When you talk about concentrate all the money in this SPLOST is not dedicated to one side. I think staff did a pretty good job of coming up with a list, but at any time it could have been advocated by a commissioner. I advocated for my rights for my community center back in 2014. It's pretty dedicated. I said, well, if we ever come into money, that's what my citizens wanted. We went for it. It's not to say the other things didn't need to be taken care of, but that was the priority. I do not believe that the citizens are being dealt their hand, because I'm sure Commissioner Mitchell, and I'm just going to say it, was out there and asking, well, what would you like? So he had cover. We're not in an ivory tower. See, we feel confident about our decision, like, well, this is what our citizens said they wanted. Now, if you take a position that you don't want nothing, I don't want a senior center, I don't want a community center, we'll give you what you asked for. Nothing. But you can't, on the other side of that, get convenient about the spread. You got to be involved in engagement. I feel for the residents of District 4 if you really believe that, right? But there was ample time to get involved and advocate. But we are doing the best we can. With that, we will not make up for the sins of the past. We will not. We'll move this thing forward. We'll focus on the money. And again, thank you for the SPLOST that allows us to do stuff that we couldn't do. The city was impoverished for 10 years. We went through a recession. So you can't get convenient now. This is important. So I want to balance the conversation that says, well, no, we'll do the best we can with what we got, and we'll be faithful over the money that has been awarded us. But by having me, I cannot stand and just listen to one side of an argument that believes that its voice wasn't represented when there was really no voice. It was a voice of no. So that being said, Madam Chair, I'm going to yield back, and that's it. That's 3.5 minutes, but I yield.
Thank you so much. Any other comment before Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, and I'll be brief. And I know, Gary, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can I take 2 minutes of your time if you'll come forth and...
Director Dukes, please come forward.
Yes, and share with me in this brief conversation, because I'm not going to be, and I left my notes upstairs, so that's why I'm going to lean heavily on you. So, but as he's coming to the podium, I'll just share this much. The Senior Citizen Center is not $1 million over budget. As a matter of fact, it'll come in probably under budget. However, it's not a pool. It's a therapeutic pool that's being incorporated. And Mike and I and others went through this whole dilemma as to why and why not to pull this off. But this will be the seniors are asking for something different than Woody Fight, and we challenged ourselves as a committee to deliver something of that caliber. So I think we're doing just that. So that $1 million, I don't know kind of where that came from, but I'm not going to get into details. But would you share with me some of the things like there's about, we fixed the flooring out at Post Road Park that was dilapidated and kind of having some issues out there. We spent about $400,000 in Bill Arp and a couple other places. But just if you can remember, I know I had a quick list of things that are going out west to reassure the general public that all the money that's being spent, whether it's from SPLOST or from Parks and Rec, is not being spent just on the eastern side of town.
Well, we've made, most of those buildings are old. They're
Yes.
40 to 50, 30 to
coached out there
40
for 15
years
years,
old.
so
Some of
yes.
the press boxes and some of the concession stands. And yes, we've spent general fund money.
Yes.
In repairing floors and redoing restrooms.
Yes.
At Bill Arp and at Winston
Yes.
upstairs.
Right.
And put new siding on the buildings. Those type of things that we can afford to do out of our general maintenance budget.
Yes.
We've done that. As far as the SPLOST is concerned, SPLOST money is going to Fair Play for the new lights at Fair Play to light 3 fields.
And how much was that? You remember the top of your head? What was that?
I'm sorry?
You remember how much was that? Was it?
I believe it was appropriated as $400,000.
I thought it was. Okay, that's why I just want to,
I wouldn't.
I think you're right. I just want to make sure that even if we're off, we'll deal with that. I just want to make sure that monies are being spent.
Right. And of course, we're having the drawings done now for a new concession restroom facility.
That's correct.
That will be, one will be put at Bill Arp and one will be put at Fair Play. And we anticipate the money is there to do both those buildings.
Correct.
We also did a small T-ball field at Bill Arp and lit it. So, those are just some of the things we're doing.
And thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. And that's all I want to just kind of make sure that, as Vice Chair stated, that I don't want the misconception as though the Parks and Rec Committee, yet along this board, is strictly spending money everywhere else but out west. So, for that just small correction is that we take what pot of money we got, because at one time, the SPLOST dollars, matter of fact, I would just say that there was a commissioner that really didn't want any Parks and Rec, but we advocated to actually increase that percentage to now, which is 17%, to get Parks and Recs more dollars. So I just don't want anybody to be misled as to what we're doing as a committee, yet along as a board, and where we're splitting SPLOST dollars and general fund dollars when it comes to Parks and Rec. So again, I thank you and I appreciate that.
Thank
you. And I'll yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcair.
Yes, and
Gary.
I wanted to touch on something that was mentioned in passing, I think, Commissioner Mitchell. I'm going to elaborate. And first of all, this was not an easy decision. This was a decision that took a lot of discussion because there was skepticism within the board. I'm not going to name names, but there was skepticism about this approach. What we determined was that the type of facility that this Lithia Springs Senior Center will be very different than the Woody Fight Center. And let me repeat that. This new senior center will be very different from the Woody Fight Center in that it will be very health-focused for our seniors. It's going to be built to facilitate a lot more physical activities than the Woody Fight Center is right now. Some of the input was that a lot of physicians are now recommending aquatic therapy. That's my term. And again, I was skeptical, but the reality is that physicians are prescribing. And so one of the suggestions that came in the committee was that perhaps we can recoup some costs through insurance fees and so forth if this is actually a full-blown therapeutic pool. So I just want to emphasize that. This is not a replica of the Woody Fight Center. It has a completely different approach and a completely different focus in terms of amenities, facilities that will be provided. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Mulcair. And Director Dukes, if you could come forward, Commissioner Guider had some questions for you, and then we'll move on to the next item. Commissioner Guider.
Gary, you stated in a meeting that you had included the $400,000 for the replacement of the poles at Fairplay in a BIR in 2015.
Several times, not only.
But you did not include it in 2016 because you knew the splosh was coming down, so you put it in a splosh.
Well, I was told that it would have to be funded out of something other than the general fund.
But staff is the one that came up with some of these projects.
Yes, we
So
knew.
you put it in there about the pole replacement, but the thing about it, it was a safety issue, and that's why it got bumped up to the top,
That's correct.
because the poles were rotten.
That's right.
So really and truly, this should have been maintained years ago. It should have not been, should not have been pushed down the road just for a splosh issue. This is a maintenance problem.
Right, and we asked for those to be replaced in numerous budgets, and they were not funded.
But y'all keep referring to a broad survey that I put out to 1,000 people out of 34,000 people about what would your priorities be. And Parks and Recs was the least. However, never was there any mention about a senior center or a youth center at that time, because the people just voted on percentages. And then when the committee, the Citizens Committee that had representation from all 4 districts came together, they suggested highly, and it's, I can prove it because I do have the minutes, by the way, that both of those things be built on the western side of the county, because the western side of the county has nothing. Y'all act like we don't have any senior citizens. We have a huge complex right there at Mirror Lake, and there's no facility for them. But from Chapel Hill, or really Fairburn Road west, there's been nothing as far as Parks and Recs, other than maintenance. Is that not right?
Not since I've been here.
Just maintenance. And we do receive a lot of complaints that the parks are not being maintained. And I have passed this on to Mark, and I've got the emails from everybody that has sent that to me. But we've used the splosh for maintenance purposes. And when now, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, you have stated twice, I've heard you state twice, we're going to run out of money when we get to Belle Arp. So if we do that, we're not going to have a new concession stand at Belle Arp. We're not going to have a new concession stand at Fairplay.
Actually, what was on the, I think the agenda, it was the last meeting in November when Moreland Altobelli came with the new, where the bottom line was. It was below, there were two parks, Belle Arp and the one right below it. Below that was where the line was.
Well, Belle Arp
So
is
they
at
were
the top.
included.
Belle Arp is at the top of the parks,
Yes,
except
and
for
Belle Arp,
Dillard.
Belle Arp was still funded.
Yes.
And the one right below it. I'll have to look it up. I can look it up real quick, but I can tell you
The
both
ones
of them.
below
Fairplay.
Belle Arp are
So
Winston.
Fairplay and Belle Arp were included.
Right.
But the one below Belle Arp is Fairplay, Post Road, and Winston. And when I'm talking about Winston, I'm talking about just an upper field who's got probably the oldest concession stand in the county. The floor was falling through. And those people are expecting us to do what's been done at a lot of the other parks, but now we're being told that we're probably going to run out of the money before we get to them. That is what I'm talking about. But a lot of this could have been done maintenance, but everything got pushed back because they saw the splosh, and it was going to fund a lot of things that really should have been funded. And I'm not saying it's your fault, Gary, because I know budget crunches and everything like that. And we're talking about another administration. They would cut the money, saying, well, we're going to have a splosh down the road. We're going to have a splosh. So a lot of things went unheeded or taken care of because they saw the splosh. But the priority and all this stuff was set by the committee, but never was there any mention in all the advertisements and everything about a senior center. They said Parks and Rec too, and all they had was fields, ball fields. That's what was put out to the public. And to be honest, the senior center should be under culture and not Parks and Recs, because in our budget, you've got Parks, Recs, and culture, and you've got a line item for Parks and Rec, and then underneath that, one for senior center. So you see, I'm not even sure we advertised it right. But the public didn't know anything about the senior and the youth center until we got into the committee and everything, but there was no notation on those two items as to where the location would be. And the committee recommended highly that it be on the western side of the county. I've had people come up to me and say, how did they steal your senior center and your rec center? How did they get it on the eastern side when it's supposed to be on the western side? Now, Commissioner Robinson has said, well, it came out of my district. Well, we relied on the staff because we, the commissioners, were not allowed to go to the committee of citizens that was putting together all this. Only staff went there. So if nothing was said about the western side of the county, it was staff's fault because they knew what needed to be done. So I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guy, and I believe to wrap things up, Commissioner
Mitchell has something. I know we continuously have this conversation about where, and I'm done. I don't. Okay. Yeah, thank you. But the prior administration, from my recollect, that talked about the Senior Citizen Center in Lithia Springs as to why we picked up from that point moving forward. Even with some of the committee meetings, that was also brought up about that as well. But I'll also add, there is a Senior Citizen Center added to the SPLOST list. It may not make it, but it's on the list, because I was the one to concur with what you would like to have out west, is another Senior Citizen Center. The question is, would the dollars and cents get there? Maybe, maybe not. However, I'll say this much, just talking with the SPLOST collection, it appears that we're going in the right direction, even with the collection. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I mean, because this conversation could go on, and I don't know why we want to continue to have this conversation outside of this is where it's going in Lithia Springs. We've already kind of committed. It's going to be a lot larger, a lot bigger, and it's going to fit on the lot that we've got in Lithia Springs at 18, I think it is, 100 square feet, if I'm not mistaken.
18,000.
Yeah, 18,000 square feet. So I'm proud as to what we're doing and where we are with that center. I'm proud as to where we are with the center, the community center. So I think we're doing good. As Madam Chair stated, let's study as we go, and we'll get there, and we'll see kind of where we end up. You're right, we may not have enough money to get all the projects, and that's going to be a reality check. However, the Parks and Rec Committee, to include Commissioner Mulcair, is trying to make sure that we look all the way down the line, not just at one project. So thank you, and I yield.
Okay, I'm going to move forward after that. We have a motion and a second. You want me to Manuel? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, and the motion.
Aye.
Okay, okay, all opposed, so we have 4-1, and the motion carries. Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider, and also the Board of Commissioners. Now, I will go back to I'll start with the consent agenda again, and that starts with tab number 11. Please keep in mind, Board of Commissioners, all items are subject to final legal review. It's pretty healthy, so please bear with me. Tab number 11, authorization to approve an IGA with WSA for installation of stormwater pipes in 8 residential subdivisions at a cost of 50% of the estimated cost not to exceed $400,000, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 12, authorization to renew the contract with Business Information Systems Incorporation for the BIS Digital Recording System Maintenance and DCR Software Assurance License for the juvenile courtrooms in the amount of $3,413. Tab number 13, authorization to apply for the Continuation of Violence Against Women Act grant in the amount of $71,799 through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 14, to authorize a continuance of the temporary moratorium on the acceptance of applications for review of rezoning for and acceptance of development plans and issuance of development, special use, and building permits for rock quarries and related uses until suggested code changes can be heard by the Planning and Zoning Board February 5th, 2019.
Madam Chairman, can I just interject on that so it's
Yes.
clear in the record?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a 90-day moratorium, even though we have put a tentative date for the Planning and Zoning meeting. I just want the record to reflect it's a 90-day extension on the moratorium that you'll be voting on tonight.
Okay, to include also, thank you so much, legal counsel, to include a 90-day moratorium, Board of Commissioners. Tab number 15, authorization to advertise for a public hearing to amend the Douglas County Code of Ordinances, Section 3-27, standard for licenses in regard to RAS training. Tab number 16, authorization for an EMS transport rate increase based on the recommendation of the Fire and EMS Committee. Tab number 17, authorization to purchase the Superior software upgrade for the mock alerting system for the digital radio system in the amount of $23,600 to be funded through the 2016 SPLOST funds as recommended by the Fire and EMS Committee. Tab number 18, authorization to accept reimbursement from the Georgia Environmental Protection Division Hazardous Waste Trust Fund in the amount of $37,210.25, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 19, authorization to amend the Board of Elections budget to cover elections expenses for the runoff election and revenue for the portion of these expenditures to be paid by the cities of Douglasville and Villa Rica. Tab number 20, authorization to renew professional service agreements and the MOU for services for the state court, DUI drug court, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 21, authorization to adopt the 2019 state and federal legislative agenda. Tab number 22, authorization to accept the Keep America Beautiful Duracell 9-vote battery grant. Tab number 23, authorization to award the bid for concrete materials to Wayne Davis Concrete for the period from January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. And I'll move on to tab number 25, authorization to award the bid for gravel materials to Martin Marietta for the period from January 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2019. Tab number 26, authorization to award the bid for asphalt materials to C.W. Matthews as the primary vendor and to Baldwin Paving and E.R. Snell contractor as secondary vendors for the period from January 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2019. Tab number 27, authorization to award the bid for liquid asphalt to Blackledge Emulsions Incorporation for the period from January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. Tab number 28, authorization to award a contract to Crown Contracting Group, LLC, to perform office space demolition and renovation at the Douglas County Courthouse, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 29, authorization to award a contract to Johnson Controls Security Solutions, LLC, for the installation of 5 Abaglon cameras and memory capacity for the server, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 30, authorization to award various annual contracts for maintenance and service at the Douglas County Courthouse, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 31, authorization to form the following new committees: Purchasing Oversight Committee, Residential Development Committee, and Tax Abatement Compliance Committee. Last but not least, tab number 32 is authorization for chairman to execute 2019 annual agreements with the Chamber of Commerce, Cultural Arts Center, Share House, Douglas County Shelter Incorporated, County Attorney, the Board of Assessors Attorney, Employee Car Allowances, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Bishop Law Group, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Contract Attorney for Dependency, Amber Walden, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Keisha Wright Hill, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Lisa Johnson, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Nicola Robertson, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Law Offices of Olivia Smith, LLC, and then also the Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Whitney Keener Jones, and Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Tim McMillan, Juvenile Contract Attorney for Dependency, Talia Nurse, Stan Cohen Associations, Justice Consultants, LLC, and MOU with the Development Authority for Tourism's Department. Board of Commissioners, you have heard.
Madam Chairman, one comment.
Yes.
On the dependency, Marcia O'Brien was one of the contracts, and Johnson Law Firm. I think maybe we missed that line.
I missed the line, okay. So what are their names again, Attorney?
Marcia O'Brien.
Okay,
and
Marcia O'Brien.
Johnson Law Firm, and both of those are juvenile contract attorney for dependencies cases.
Okay, thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, you have heard the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion about any particular item?
Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson.
I've just got one. Number 11, this is a very, very important topic in which this administration has shown that we're moving forward. It was a collaborative effort to work with our Water Sewer Authority to address housing in Douglas County, to get it unstuck. Specifically, some of you may be aware of what we call pipe farms. Within neighborhoods, these were incomplete, basically incomplete subdivision areas. And just like an empty house or foreclosed next door, this is something that you don't want to be there long term. And we thought it was prudent and in the public's best interest to work toward a solution that enabled this to be eradicated, taken off the books. In other words, cut out this pre-existing condition out of our county to allow the digest to grow. We had a series of meetings with major stakeholders. We had lenders, we had realtors, we had builders all in the room, along with key staff, both from the Water Sewer Authority and from Development Services here under Mark Till, our county administrator. I thought they did a very good job. I mean, it was a very tough decision for the county to be involved, to come alongside and contribute taxpayer dollars. I know some of my colleagues went out and spoke to their citizens to get support that says, yes, we believe this is the proper use. And so I am just pleased to see how well everybody came together to get this done. I yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you all.
Okay, any other comment before we move forward?
Yeah.
Commissioner
Yes.
Mitchell.
And I just want to piggyback on Vice Chair. Ken, can you just share with us the whole plan and makeup of this whole $400,000 that the county will be responsible for, and so that we can kind of clear understanding, which, again, I echo the sentiments of what Vice Chair just stated about where we are, what we've done, and all the conversation that's been had to kind of get us to this point. And hopefully this will see the new growth in the housing market that we will find once this infrastructure is all in place also.
This infrastructure is from a culvert out where water collects on a street and it goes out. It's not pipe straight from a meter to a house. While it's controlled on private property, it is part of the public infrastructure. In other words, the public infrastructure is dependent upon it.
Yes.
And so the Water and Sewer Authority has agreed to go in and change the pipes to, from cast iron to cement, I believe, Mark. Is that correct? To cement?
Reinforced concrete.
Reinforced concrete, because the code has changed.
Right.
They will advance the work either through their in-house people or through contracts. Their estimate is approximately $800,000. They will secure whatever consents are needed to get on the property and do whatever work. Our responsibility starts in the year January of 2020. We have 5 installments of not to exceed $400,000. It may be less. We also put in a provision that if they do not incur the expense, our obligation is stayed. If at the 5-year mark, 5 years from January of 2020, if it's not completed, it just expires. Did I get that date right, Mark? 5 years from January of 2020 or January of, yeah, 2020, from our installment starting.
Right.
Our obligation ends. I will say that this is, we concur with the Water and Sewer Authority that there is a public benefit because it's part of the infrastructure in which the public relies on. And y'all's ability to approve this is because it deals with public health, safety, and welfare. And so there. We've tried to incentivize that WSA, hurry up and get this done, so it's not dragging out, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like, Mark, is 8 to 9 subdivisions, about 300 plus?
800.
8 subdivisions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I said 800.
Right, 8. That's okay. All righty, but outside of that, again, I think that's a great steward that we are as a commission to dig in and help to kind of get this off the ground. So again, I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. Our Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes accordingly. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. We'll move on next to the approval of the expenses. Board of Commissioners, yesterday I requested that you take a look at your expenses, and if there are no questions or concerns, I will call for a motion. Do we have a motion to approve
So
our
moved.
expenses?
Second.
We have a
Yeah, we
motion and a
got a second,
second.
all right.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote on the approval of our expenses, and the motion carries. Next, we have our announcements, and following our announcements, we have a special presentation. So I just want to, if you could, Director of Communications, Rick Martin, if you could come and just provide our announcements, and then we'll move into our special presentation.
Yes, Chairman Jones. Good evening, Chairman Jones and Board of
Good evening.
Commissioners and staff. Number of announcements we have. The Douglas County's 2018 swearing-in ceremony for newly and re-elected officials is happening on Thursday, December 27th at 6 p.m. right here in Citizens Hall. A reception will immediately follow the ceremony upstairs on the 3rd floor, atrium area. I don't know if Commissioner Robinson wanted to
Read it.
Okay, sure. Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson will be hosting a How to Do Business in Douglas County Small Business Forum on January 24th, 2019. This is happening at the Douglasville Conference Center. It's happening at 6 o'clock. There will be a guest speaker, and that guest speaker will be U.S. Small Business Regional Administrator Ashley Bell. For more information, anyone can contact Director of External Affairs, Tiffany Stewart-Stanley. And last but not least, Keep Douglas County Beautiful. We'll be hosting a Bring One for the Chipper event next year on January 5th at the Cedar Mountain Landfill and also the Home Depot on Thornton Road in Lithia Springs. This event's happening at 9 a.m. and continues until 1 p.m. All Douglas County citizens are encouraged to bring their Christmas trees to either location for recycling, and they will also receive free tree seedlings. For more information, you can contact Tabria Cobb. And a reminder to everyone that the commission meeting agenda is on our website, celebratedouglascounty.com, and everyone can follow up and get that information as well. Thank you, Chairman Jones.
Okay, thank you so
Board of
much,
Commissioners.
Director Martin, for the announcements. Next, I would like to take the time for our special presentation. Would like to just spend some time just celebrating our Commissioner, Commissioner Mulcair. I call him our senior statesman for about the next 10 minutes or so, but he has done so much for this county and certainly wanted to acknowledge his job well done and show my appreciation particularly for all the things he's done to make Douglas County great. Commissioner Mulcair, I will miss you dearly. You are a friend, and you have been the wind beneath my wings, and I appreciate you for what you've done. And I know you're a phone call away, and I can call you if I have any questions regarding this. I call it a journey. You have definitely passed the baton to me, and I will take it, and I'll take it, but I won't take it lightly. I will lead with the standards that you have put in place here in Douglas County. I know my colleagues would like to say something kind and something so gracious tonight about you, and then also if the staff that's sitting here would like to say something. I just wanted to let you know that I miss you. I will miss you, and certainly look forward to you being involved in the community, which you've already expressed that you will be here. So I would just like to yield to the Vice Chairman and allow him to have some words, and then we'll move on to our Commissioner Mitchell and then Commissioner Guider, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll be brief, and I'm going to try to look at him and over to the side. Commissioner Mulcair has been an absolutely pleasure and an honor. Commissioner Mulcair is a fundamentalist. If there ever was the epitome and a picture of what a commissioner and a distinguished gentleman is in Douglas County, it's Commissioner Mulcair. Don't get it twisted. I respect him. I believe in what he stood for, and I know everybody who knows me that see me work around him, it was just straight respect. Yes, you're probably the only formidable foe I've met, but it was for the right reasons. We fought to shape Douglas County for the better, and for that, I appreciate you and wish you very well. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell.
And I'll be brief, other than, we kind of came on this journey early on as the Mayor Pro Tem in the city of Douglasville and kind of had a lot of great run-ins, unique moments, but at the end of the day, they were all good and pleasantry and professional, and I just want to say to you, I look forward to your futures endeavors and kind of what that plan is going fishing, and maybe you can kind of teach me how to throw the reel out of that kind of good stuff. Yeah, okay, thanks. But at the end of the day, I want to wish you well, and you've served the public and did a great job at what you do and being a public servant, and it takes a special person to do this. So again, I just want to wish you the best, and thank you for being a friend and a commissioner and a public servant. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Guider.
I want to thank Peggy for lending us Mike all these years. Behind every good man, there's a good woman. Mm-hmm. You have to share a lot of moments and time with the community when you allow your spouse to be in the public sector. So, but Mike, you've always been very dedicated to your projects, and what you did with the animal shelter will be always remembered. And the trail system, that's been heavy on your heart too. So I've enjoyed working with you. You're always smiling. You know, this job isn't easy, and when you watch one of our commissioner meetings, you might think we all hate each other, but we really don't. At the end of the day, we just move on, because everybody's not going to agree on everything. But I wish you well, a lot of leisure time and travel. But when you get that out of your system, I know you'll be ready to serve again in some manner. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. And I would just like his wife, Mrs. Peggy Mulcair, to stand so we can give her a hand for all of her service as well, and patience and love and kindness. Well, we have something special for you, Commissioner Mulcair, and I wanted, I just mentioned passing the baton, and with that, I wanted that baton to be official. So we have or our Commissioner-elect, District 3, Tarenia Carthen, to come forward, and if she could, she has a resolution to read.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners, staff, and citizens.
This is a treat.
This is. I'm here to bring forth a proclamation from the Douglas County Board of Commissioners to Douglas County Commissioner Michael Mulcair. Whereas Michael Mulcair was elected to serve as District 3 County Commissioner in 2005 in a special election. He won his first full term in 2006 and won re-election in 2010 and 2014. And whereas Commissioner Mulcair has been an advocate for Douglas County long before becoming a commissioner. He was the founder and president of Friends of Douglas County, established the Douglas County Greenway Trail Alliance to develop a network of multi-use trails throughout the county, served on the Stakeholders Committee for the Unified Development Code, Douglas County Board of Appeals, City-County Annexation Mediation Committee, the Chamber of Commerce Steering Committee, and Quality of Life Work Group Chair. And whereas, while in office, Mike has served as a member of the Association of County Commissioners Board of Managers, and also serving as president of the ACCG's Group Health Benefits Board of Directors. And whereas, Commissioner Mulcair created the Citizens Government Academy Program and the Citizens Academy Alumni Association, he was instrumental in advocating for the development of the 85-acre Pumpkin Down Nature Preserve and the construction of a new Douglas County animal shelter, replacing a much smaller and outdated facility. And whereas Mike and his wife Peggy, high school sweethearts, celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in 2016 by hosting a fundraiser in conjunction with the Humane Society to raise funds to support the spay and neuter program at the Douglas County Animal Shelter, and has continued the event each year, collecting over $47,000. And whereas Mike Mulcair has played an integral role in shaping Douglas County into what it is today, and the citizens of Douglas County are grateful for the 13 years of service toward improving the quality of life in Douglas County and diligently striving to serve and do everything possible to improve not only District 3, but also to the entire county. And whereas Mike Mulcair contributes his accomplishments by virtue of support from and with many other commissioners and chairmen, active community leaders, constitutional officers, employees, and department heads, and above all, the engaged citizens of Douglas County, and of course, the unwavering support and encouragement from his wife, Peggy. Now, therefore, the Douglas County Board of Commissioners do proclaim that we are grateful for Commissioner Michael Mulcair's many years of service to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, so proclaim this 18th day of December, 2018. Thank you, Commissioner Mulcair.
Would you come up and take a photograph of this as well?
Please, please. All right. Speech. I know you've been waiting for this.
Before you render a speech, Commissioner Mulcairus, I just wanted to check the pulse of my county administrator and legal counsel to just want to make sure they didn't have anything special to say to you. County Administrator, you have any words for our great statesman?
Well, I'll just say pretty much what I said the other day at the ceremonies. I appreciate everything you've done for me. We've pretty much been here almost the same time. I still remember the first day you were in my office and some of the direction you gave me, and I still remember it. And staff as well. And then I'm sure that, you know, we appreciate everything you've done for staff, for me, the board, and Douglas County.
Thank you.
Okay, and our legal counsel, and then I will
I
ask
don't
our
like getting
clerks.
put on the spot, Madam Chair, but
Okay.
Commissioner Mulcair, I just want to thank you for being somebody that cared about doing what's right all the time. I felt like no matter what the debate was, no matter what the issue was, you wanted to zero in on what's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to speak as a county attorney, I'm going to speak as a citizen. We've all enjoyed your service because of what you've done for the people of Douglas County to do what's right. And I think everybody on this board shares that same feeling, and I don't want to speak for all the staff, but I do know this. If there was candor needed, you gave it. If there was a direction needed, you tried to focus in on what was the best for the common good of everybody. And I will say in my office, you've always treated the legal department with utmost respect. You've challenged us when we need to be challenged. You've disagreed when you need to disagree, and we respect you for that. And so we really appreciate you. And because I know Peggy, I also want to say, Ms. Mulcair, we appreciate you. A servant's heart is very hard without a supportive family, as everybody knows. And so I do want to reach out to Ms. Mulcair and tell her we appreciate her too.
Thank you so much. And our deputy clerk and our clerk, do you have anything? I want to be respectful of you all as well. Clerk, do you have anything? Lisa Watson, thank you.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I just echo what everyone else has said up here. I have great respect for you, Mike, and especially as my commissioner in District 3. I appreciate everything you've done for our district and enjoyed working with you for the last 11 years. You will be missed.
Okay, thank you so much. Jennifer Moore, you have a comment?
I will just quickly say that it's obvious that he's a servant and he cares about the county and the citizens a lot, but what you might not know and what I'm really going to miss is his very personable side. I'm going to miss hearing about your trips, and he loves his kids and his grandkids so much, and he shows us pictures of his grandkids, and I'm just really going to miss seeing you in the hallways and hearing about all your adventures with your family and your wife.
Okay, well, the time has come now for our great statesman to have his moment. Right. And I promised you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want. Today is your day. Thank you.
I measured it, and it's about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Almost to the day, 13 years ago, I was sworn in by Judge Emerson to serve the people of Douglas County. It's hard to fathom how quickly years race from us. It's been an unequaled privilege of my life to be a Douglas County Commissioner. And I thank the citizens of the 3rd District with the deepest humility.
Thank you.
I arrived with dreams, and some have been fulfilled, and I leave the commission satisfied. I leave with different dreams, hopefully to be fulfilled in the days to come. Nothing happens in the civic arena without dreams, and no dream is accomplished without the counsel and support of others. To paraphrase, no commissioner is an island. So whatever is deemed to be an accomplishment was not mine, but was of this body and of this community and of the great employees of Douglas County. I have served with quite a few commissioners over the 13 years, and I can truthfully say I like them all, but in different ways and to different degrees. I have served two fine chairmen. Chairman Tom Worthen masterfully guided the county through some of the most challenging times since the Great Depression, was a steady and reassuring hand. And Chairman Jones is leading our county into a new era with grace and determination and creativity. Great things have been accomplished since 2006, and great things can be anticipated. I know that Commissioner-elect Terenia Carthen, soon to be on board, will represent the 3rd District and county well, and she will come with her own dreams to fulfill and goals to attain. I worked at Delta Airlines before retiring into my calling as a commissioner. And Delta always liked to refer to the Delta family. Now, I'm not sure how real that was with over 80,000 employees across the globe, but Douglas County family of employees, now that's different. Yes, they have to work for a paycheck like all of us, but our employees also work to contribute something lasting and good to the county, and it's a noble calling. So I thank our Douglas County employees, many unseen, for what they contribute to the character and the future of the county. I was involved in Douglas County community for quite a few years before I became a commissioner. That community engagement of so many people saw some significant successes, some very visible today, such as the 1,300 acres and parks and green space that we enjoy today. Some are invisible, such as the landfill and the prison farm and the power plant that were not built in people's communities. My point is there's nothing more powerful than citizens who are well-informed, proactive, constructive, and collaborative. Please be engaged, and it's more than blogging. It's my desire and plan that Peggy and I will continue to be involved and contribute in some way. Speaking of Peggy, she's my girlfriend of 55 years. I count the years from our first date, not when we got married, because that first date, that's when my life changed forever. Peggy has been at the core of everything that could be deemed positive in my life and careers. Peggy, are you ready to be home more? In closing, I want to express the warmest regard and appreciation to this board and staff. By name, Chairman Ramona Jackson Jones, Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson, Commissioner Henry Mitchell, the third, and Commissioner Ann Guider, County Administrator Mark Teal, County Clerk Lisa Watson, and Assistant County Clerk Jennifer Moore, County Attorney Ken Bernard, and the very professional, accomplished, and caring staff, Sherry Mathis, Jessica Therault, and Dion Penn. No commissioner could have had better people to work with. So it's not goodbye, it's I'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mulcair, for those wonderful, I won't say departing words, but words of encouragement to allow us to just continue to thrive. And we will be on the wings of your greatness, so thank you so much. Well, with that being said, Board of Commissioners, if there's no other business at this time, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.